Great. All right, well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining today for our Soar Past Your Competition online Zoom course. We have several chapters participating today, so thank you all for taking the time to be here. I think we're going to add a lot of valuable information. I'm Michelle Goldberg. I am the current Southern Arizona IREM president and a CCIM past president. I'm joining you from Tucson, Arizona. Here with me today, I have Gary Heinfeld, who serves as the CCIM Region 2 RVP. He's joining us from Tucson, and also Brad Randall, who's IREM's Region 8 RVP, and he's joining us from Utah. So before we get started, I was just going to give you a brief course overview. Our focus today is we're exploring the CCIM and the CPM certifications. We're going to go over what the certifications are, what are the benefits of having them, the process to get your CCIM or CPM, and fast track options to obtain both certifications. Additionally, we'll chat about how these certifications can benefit you as a property manager, an agent, or an investor, and how they can give you a unique advantage over your competition. So quick little outline so you can get a vibe for how this is going to go. Gary is going to start us off with his discussion on CCIM certification, and we're going to have a very brief Q&A session after that. Then we'll invite Brad on to go over the CPM certification portion, and we'll have a very brief Q&A session after that. We'll finish it up with me kind of going through my journey. I'm both a CCIM and a CPM. I took the hard road on some of it, and maybe you guys can learn from it, benefit from it, choose to take the same route, or use some of the benefits and resources that I did not. We think that it's going to take about 40 minutes, maybe even less. So we've left ample time at the end for us to have a more in-depth Q&A session. So we're definitely available for that. Other information is that we are going to provide all of our contact information at the end of the slides. So feel free to reach out. We're happy to help and can even pair you with someone and guide you through the process for each certification or both certifications. We encourage you to take notes, but we are going to send you a copy of the PowerPoint slides for anyone who misses something or wants to review them. Without further ado, let me introduce you to Gary Heinfeld.
Thank you, Michelle. Let me just give you a little brief background of my background. I graduated from the University of Arizona with a degree in accounting. Soon after that, I started investing in multifamily, residential, duplexes to timplexes, also purchasing land in growth areas. And then I earned my CPA certificate and my broker's license pretty much about the same time. I founded my real estate company and CPA firm the same day. The CPA firm grew substantially with over 80 individuals, and I still continued real estate investing and sales. After 20 years of being a CPA, I decided to focus entirely on real estate after I earned my CCIM designation and concentrated mostly on development. And can we put that, Kelly, can we put the first slide up?
There we go.
Oh, I don't see it.
Oh dear. Okay. Let me stop sharing and I'm going to reshare.
Okay, there it is. I'll talk about a little bit about the CCIM Institute first. It was founded over 50 years ago. It has over 59 chapters, 1,300 members in 30 countries. Some quick facts, only 10% of the CCIM, the people holding the CCIM only represent 10% of the commercial real estate professionals, which is kind of surprising. Also, if you have your CCIM, they did a little study that you earn 42% more annually than the typical broker. If we can go to the next slide. Why would you want to get your CCIM designation? The CCIM designation is widely recognized as the gold standard in commercial real estate by all professionals. I think we went a little bit too far. Or we're out. Okay, now we can go to the next one. The next one. Okay, the Institute research shows that CCIM designations outperform their non-designated professionals across every key factor, including compensation. One thing this also includes is we've seen that once people do get their designation, it seems like within the next 6 months, if they're working for a bank or they're working for a company, they usually get a promotion. So it usually pays for getting that designation. Next slide, please. Okay, what is the CCIM designation? They're proven leaders in commercial real estate who care as much about the expertise, the ethical responsibility, and the quality of their service versus the end results. Individuals with the certification complete a rigorous program, which we'll talk about a little bit later, demonstrate proven experience and a combination of ethics and deal making. Next slide, please. There's many benefits on becoming a CCIM. Of course, as we outlined earlier, only 10% of real estate professionals hold the designation, so it enhances your credibility, especially in getting new work. The main reason I did it was for the number 2 reason, advanced knowledge and skills. That was the main thing that I was going for. I heard a lot of good things about their educational programs, that they were top notch. And so that's really why I did it. The one thing that I wasn't really think would really help me that much because was the networking opportunities. But just recently, I'm sure you guys have all aware how insurance rates have gone up. I got my insurance renewal for this year for all the properties, and it went up 237%, which is amazing. And so what I did was I said, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to I contacted 3 of my colleagues, my fellow CCIMs. I said, who do you recommend for insurance? And this was probably like a 2-week process or 3-week process that this happened. But I ended up getting the insurance at 25% more than what the previous year was, which is a lot better than 237%. And I saved about half the cost. So by having those connections, I was able to reach out to some other CCIMs and said, hey, who do you use for insurance? Who do you get good rates from? So definitely a plus that I didn't really think was going to help that much. And I use that all the time. You can access their tools and resources at any time. This includes if you're a candidate or if you're a CCIM. Get a little bit more resources with your CCIM. Career advancement, which we talked about before, can open the doors to other jobs, other opportunities. And the technology, and I'll talk about it a little bit more, the site to do business, there's great technology on the CCIM site. Next slide, please. Okay, a few of the benefits. I'm not going to go through each one of these. You'll get the slides that you can look at them. But some of the ones that I use on a regular basis, I do use the site to do business, their demographics, business analysis. They have business lists. So if you're trying to contact, I have a retail center that I have a dental space that was built out for dentists, and I'm looking for dentals. I can drill down to all the dentists in the area and use that as a list. So that's a big benefit. Floodplains also. The CCIM Connect I use quite a bit. Find a CCIM, I've used that for referrals. 3 things that I use on a daily basis is the Excel templates, the business forms, and the financial calculators. I don't know if there's a day go by that I don't use those. We can go to the next slide. A lot of people think that the CCIM only applies to real estate brokers. At the beginning, when it started 50 years ago, that was most of the people that were getting the designation, but it's really branched out. And I think real estate brokers probably represent less than half of the CCIMs. We have asset managers, we have brokers, bankers, developers, property managers, lawyers, accountants. We have title companies, just to name a few. Next slide, please. Now, this is kind of the exciting point. They instituted this. I wish they had this when I got my certificate because it would have been a lot easier. They instituted this a few years ago, that if you have one of the following designations, you can actually go on a fast track, which means you would get your designation within 24 months. And it's at the accelerated pace. And with that, you don't have to do the traditional elective credits, or you don't have to fill out a portfolio. Next slide. So with the fast track, you need to still take the 4 core classes, so 101, 102, 103, and 104 core classes, and the negotiation. Next slide. And you have to take the ethics, but what is waived is, as I mentioned before, your elective credits are waived and the portfolio is waived. I know I spent probably 40 hours just preparing my portfolio. And some people might not have the experience in the portfolio that meets the requirements. So doing the fast track is a way to get your CCIM. Like, let's say I'm a lawyer, but I really don't do any sales. Well, I might not be able to get my designation because I don't meet some of the portfolio requirements in either leasing or sales. So it's a good way to go. You still have to take, unfortunately, you still have to take the comprehensive exam, which that's offered twice a year. And then next slide, please. And, you know, a good way to start, I did not do this and I kind of regret it. I kind of, you know, heard about the program and didn't really contact my local chapter, and I just started taking classes. Now, when I was taking the classes, I met quite a few people that were in the local chapter, and I did join the local chapter after that. But one thing I didn't know is that the local chapter has scholarships to offer for taking the classes. And they have mentoring programs. So it would have been really a benefit if I would have known some of that a little bit ahead of time. And then your other resource, I would go to your local chapter first, but other resource would be the CCIM.com and look at the resources that they have there. And then I'll just open it up for any questions.
Gary, can you elaborate a little bit further on the portfolio requirement? You mentioned activity in sales and leasings as a pre-qualifier.
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways to go with on the portfolio. If you're lucky enough to have a $30 million transaction, you just have to present that one transaction. Otherwise, you can present 20 transactions. They could be sales or leasing, showing how you used your CCIM knowledge with that to help you, generate those sales and leases. And they can be of any size. So they could be, and they have to be commercial in nature. They can't be residential. But it'd be 20 transactions, any size. And that's what, when I did it, that's what you had to do. There wasn't like the exceptions. You had to do 20 transactions.
There, it looks.
Yeah, we have a question in the chat. What are the total costs for the fast track program?
What is the total cost for the program? It depends on your classification, because there's you get a discount rate if you're a CCIM member, you get a discounted rate if you're a realtor, and then if you're not those, there's another cost involved. Each class is probably, if I'm not and the classes, some are more expensive than the other, but they roughly run about $1,500 a piece, and the classes run You can do them online, or you can do classes in person, and there's also hybrids.
Yeah, and two, if you do this fast track option, I think you are allowed to waive the elective course. But I'll talk more in depth about that, and we can have a more thorough discussion about that at the end of the program.
And you might think that it's expensive to earn it, but once you have that designation, it really opens up a lot of doors with you, and you really get your return back fairly quickly.
Hey,
All
Gary,
right.
James here. I got a question for you. How long will it take me to get my CCIM designation? If I start tomorrow, when can I get it done?
James, good question. I did it in 9 months. But you can take classes, we have classes in Tucson, there's classes in Phoenix, there's probably a lot of classes locally. Some of the classes that they weren't offered in Tucson when I took mine, I took 2 in Phoenix, I took 1 in San Francisco, 1 in San Jose, because I wanted to finish before and take it in May and turn in my portfolio. So there was one person last year that did it in 2 months.
Wow.
And they sat for, I thought they were talking like, well, I started taking the class in February and I took the exam in May. And I thought February of the previous year. And she goes, no, February of this year. And what there's one advantage that people don't know about. I'm kind of glad you raised that question because it brings up more things. You have to submit your portfolio on not if you're fast track, but if you do a portfolio, you have to submit that usually about 2 months before the exam. With the portfolio, if you're doing the fast track, you don't have to do that. But that doesn't mean you have to take all your classes. So what this person did, they turned in their portfolio because they met all the requirements with that. And they took 2 of the classes after the portfolio due date, but they took them before the exam date. And those will qualify.
Thank you.
All right. Did you say you don't have to take all the courses to sit for the exam?
No, you have to take all the courses and sit for the exam.
Oh, okay.
But you don't have to take all the courses prior to submitting your portfolio, which is usually
Oh, I see.
2 months prior to the exam.
Do you have to do the course overview to take the exam, or could you just do the exam without doing that course?
Okay, I think you're talking about the 2-day course that is an overday just prior to the exam. I took it and I probably didn't need to, but I would suggest, I think most people do take it. If you do the overview, they kind of go over everything that they think is going to be on the exam. And it just gives you a lot of confidence prior to going into that exam. So I think it's very well worth it.
Yeah, and I'll say for me, in my opinion, I think it's a must because they really outline what the exam's going to be on. But all right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to have more time for questions at the end of this, but let's go ahead and move to Brad. Brad, thank you for joining us today. I'll let you go into your CPM.
You bet. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. I've really very much appreciated the info so far. And Michelle, Kelly, the CCIM team, thank you for putting this together. So my name is Brad Randall. I am based out of Salt Lake City, and I am the Regional Vice President for Region 8 for the Institute of Real Estate Management, or IREM. So just as Gary was talking about CCIM and the benefits that can come from that designation, IREM, we focus more on the management of the asset. So the reason why we wanted to connect these two today is CCIM is not in competition with IREM. It's not an either or, they're different. And there are benefits to both of them. And for some of you, if you are working in the asset management industry, depending on what your role is or what your goals are, getting a CCIM on top of it is exactly the route you should go. On the flip side, for some of you that may even have CCIMs, depending on what your company does, then having a CPM designation or a certified property manager designation, or someone in your team that does it also makes sense. So I would just like to focus a few minutes on how the CPM designation process works and how it can benefit you. So our overall vision with the CPM is to have it be the globally recognized premier certification across the world for property management and asset management. And the good news is it is the premier designation right now. For those that are in the management industry, it is the most recognizable designation that you can have if you are in this industry. Now, you may be thinking about this and say, okay, if I'm a landlord or if I'm working in property management, is this something that I need if I'm in multifamily or single family? Is this only for commercial? And I can tell you, my company, I'm a company owner and we manage single family homes, small multi, small commercial, and HOA management, which is homeowner associations. I utilize the skills from my CPM on a daily basis. So even though my portfolio may look very different than some of you in this call, the CPM designation really can fit for a variety of portfolios. Kelly, you're welcome to move to the next slide. So CPMs, obviously there's some benefits similar to what Gary talked about with the CCIM. There are a select percentage of managers that obtain the CPM. Those managers are more often than not making a higher base salary. They also occupy more C-suite or management level positions within companies across the nation. And it is a recognition of confidence. It's a recognition of essentially getting a master's degree in property management and in asset management. And similar to the CCIM, it is a way for you to distinguish yourself. And in a job market that is becoming increasingly competitive, anything you can do to distinguish yourself is a great thing. Kelly, please feel free to move ahead. Perfect. So if you're interested in this is the process. You enroll for the CPM online. There are 8 certification courses that you have to take. On average, this takes about 12 to 18 months. And a lot of that depends on your ability to do the courses, because some of the courses are 2 days, some of them are 1 day, and some are 4 or 5 days. And then you need to take a test. Now, I have not sat in the CCIM exam. However, I have a lot of good friends that have sat in it. And here's what I can tell you. The CCIM final exam is harder than the CPM final exam. So that is one benefit to the CPM, is it's going to be a little bit easier on the exam side, because I know for me, it feels like light years, like ages ago, that I was really exam ready back in college and all of that. The next thing that you'll need to do is called a management plan. So this management plan can be done in a couple of different ways. There is an option there. I mean, you can do all of these online, or you can also do them in person. I was fortunate enough to have a class in our local area in Salt Lake, so I was able to do it in person. I am a huge proponent of in-person classes when it's possible, because I do feel like there's some learning that happens in person that is hard to replicate online. Having said that, both CCIM and IREM have really advanced their online education, and that is a good thing. It's making it more accessible for people to do it. Once those things are done, you need to make sure you have a qualifying portfolio of experience. So similar to the CCIM, IREM wants to make sure that the people that obtain the CPM have shown that they can manage a certain number of aspects of property management over a period of time. So when we look at the average cost for all of this, it's approximately $7,500 to $8,500. So it's not as much as a master's degree, but it is an advanced designation within the real estate profession, and within especially the property management and asset management profession. You can keep going, Kelly. So this is a summary, just the titles of the 8 certification courses. Now, you're going to hear in just a few minutes from Michelle about her journey. I want to tell you how not to get your designation really quick. When I graduated from college, I was lucky enough to qualify for the fast track for the CPM, which was great. And I'll talk about the fast track in a minute. I also tried to do my CCIM concurrently and around the same time. The problem with that was I got going on one and I would get 1 or 2 classes down the road, and then I would have to hold off because of work or other related things. And there is a time stipulation to be able to get these courses done. So I was able to obtain my CPM, but as I look back, I completed 5 of the CCIM courses, and then it dropped off the face of the planet. And then I got married, started having kids, and then it really dropped off the face of the planet. And I was not able to complete that designation within my time frame. So if I were to go for my CCIM now, I would get to start right where you are, or some of you are, at the process again. So the advice I would give, and Michelle will talk more about her journey, is take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you, either with a fast track option or really focus on your plan for getting those done. I had a great amount of energy to get started, but I didn't necessarily have a really strong game plan on how I was going to finish it. And it didn't end up going the way I had hoped. Now, these certification courses are going to give you an opportunity to become really well-versed on a variety of items. As we look at what the fast track has to offer, these 8 certification courses can really be lumped together. And with the fast track, you receive a credit for 7 of the 8 courses. So the vast majority of the courses are going to be completed if you qualify. So then the question is, how do you qualify? So in order to qualify for a fast track, you need to hold a designation from an approved organization. CCIM is one of those. That's why if you go after your CCIM or you already have it, then you are going to be able to skip 7 of the 8 courses that you need for your CPM. There are some other organizations that have this same type of fast track designation approval. The other option is that you can have a qualifying real estate degree. There are a lot of degrees out there. I had no idea how many. There are over a dozen schools that offer an accredited degree that the IREM organization recognizes. There's a list of those schools on IREM's website that you can look at. The next option is what a lot of people use, is experience. Now, I actually chose to become a property manager. Most people fall into property management in some way, shape, or form. They were a leasing agent or whatever it may be. But if you have a significant number of years experience, 20 being the qualifying, then you can qualify for skipping those 7 of 8 classes and be able to do the fast track. Okay, Kelly, feel free to move ahead. So as we look at what IREM has to offer, IREM for me has been a way to not only build my professional resume, but ultimately it is a way to connect. And it is a way to connect with people that are dedicated to the highest level of ethical management, as well as the best ways to manage properties. As I look at people obtaining a CCIM or a CPM designation, there is no beating around the bush that additional job opportunities, additional monetary opportunities can and should be part of that discussion. Absolutely. But the non-monetary benefits that I've received from having my CPM are really hard to weigh. I can reach out to colleagues from across the country and talk with them about issues that we're facing in our market. I have additional resources available to me online that I wouldn't have without my CPM. I also feel like I've been able to grow professionally in a way that I would not have been able to without a CPM. So outside of the money benefits and all of that, I really want to make sure that I can share that the CPM and the IREM organization has helped connect me and build relationships that are really going to last a long time. And I know that that can pay huge dividends now and in the future. So that's really the main points that we have on the IREM designation, which is the Certified Property Manager. Are there any specific questions? And if not, we'll move into Michelle's portion.
Hey,
Sorry.
Brad, I have a question. This is Gary. What is you said if you have those for the fast track, you don't have to take 7 of the 8. What is the one course that you have to take, or is it an option?
So it's a great question. So everybody needs to take when they're getting their designation, they need to take the IREM ethics course. So there is a designated ethics course that IREM members take, excuse me, every couple years, and that is one that you have to take no matter what.
Okay, and one thing I will mention for qualifying for CCIM, it's very similar. If you graduate from and get a degree in real estate, that's one of the qualifying factors to go fast track also.
Oh, that's great.
All right. So again, we'll have a little more time for a Q&A session at the end of this. I'm going to kind of guide you guys through my personal journey. Hopefully it'll be somewhat entertaining, somewhat educational. So yeah, basically my first introduction to either of these certifications was in 2008. Straight out of college, I was working for a small apartment owner. Like Brad just mentioned, I was one of the few that fell into the career. I came out of college with degrees in English literature and art history, and was competing with thousands of people for unpaid internships. So I fell into it, and I was thankful for that. And my boss brought me to a CCIM luncheon, and all I remember at the time is that he's like, geez, do you know who that is? Do you know who that is? These were like the real estate celebrities in my town. All the big names, all the movers and shakers in town. And my boss really emphasized to me at that time that I should really get involved with the CCIM community. I was busy. I had other goals at the time. I didn't get involved. So years later, 2015, I had been managing properties for many years at this point, and I was helping investors, clean up C and D class properties and watching them turn around and sell these things for a fortune. So I got really interested in, buying and selling multifamily myself, and maybe even building a portfolio of my own. But I didn't know how to analyze deals. I was knocking on my broker's door all the time. And, he did provide spreadsheets, but that's kind of the classic, any information you get out of them, trash in, trash out. So any information you get out of that is only as good as the information that you put in. So for example, one of the first deals that I tried to do, it was a classic spreadsheet, sample spreadsheet. You were to make a copy, delete all the sample figures, and put in the correct figures. Well, I thought I did that. This deal seemed like a total slam dunk. My investor trusted me. I was very confident about the deal. And during the due diligence period, he actually took a closer look. And I didn't realize that in this spreadsheet, they're accounted for a 3-bedroom that had crossed over from the sample. And the 3-bedroom brought in $1,500 extra income per month. And obviously that made the cap rate look fantastic, but it was completely unreal. So, we canceled the sale. At this point, my buyer had put some money into the deal. We were even doing inspections and such. So, I think that if I had had the knowledge at that time, I would have been able to see that something was wrong. Now if I look at a spreadsheet, I'm like, oh, something's not right there. Something's not making sense. You can catch it once you have the foundational knowledge. So I really realized the importance of understanding the foundational figures and, of putting in accurate data and analysis of real estate. So it was at that time I said, my goodness, I have to educate myself. And so between 2015 and 2018, I took all of the CCIM courses. Like Gary, I wasn't involved in my local chapter, didn't even remember that I had gone all of those years before. I paid full price. I took all of them online, instructor led. And, you could see I took those courses over 3 years, took my time a little bit, but then I was able to buy and sell multifamily properties. So this is something that's a little bit exciting for people to think about too, as a property manager. And as you know, you get a percentage of all the rents that you bring in. Well, you sell $1 million property, you could be looking at $30,000 commission. I mean, way to change your income and drastically and overwhelmingly by being able to do some multifamily transactions. And, you need to be competent in those. But more importantly, I was able to buy my own multifamily property, which I was able to analyze and vet on my own. And that led to me accumulating a small investment portfolio of my own. And that has changed the entire course of my life. It's given me a ton of freedom. So I would not have ever done that without the confidence that CCIM education gave me. So in 2018, I was, this is after I've completed my classes, I was doing a multifamily transaction with a CCIM member. And we're just kind of making small talk during the inspections. And I told him, oh, I took all classes online. Now I paid out of pocket and, wasn't involved. And he said, that's crazy. There's scholarships available. He had all of his classes paid for. And so he invited me to the luncheon and I absolutely was hooked the moment I walked in the door. So I joined CCIM and joined the board shortly thereafter. I also submitted my portfolio that year to CCIM, and it was declined as my property management activities did not count toward the qualifying transactions that were required. And I was pretty bummed and I was discouraged, honestly. So I shelved it for that time. I was disappointed. I didn't see, I didn't see it worth pursuing at that time. Especially because I had the education, I didn't really know the value of getting the full certification at that point. So kind of a parallel timelines, I'm still an active member of CCIM. In 2020, I saw an event for IREM, email blasts. It's their annual bowling event. And it sounded like a lot of fun to me. And I went to it and I just had a blast. I mean, I met a ton of really great people and a lot of really awesome vendors that I'm still in touch with now. I signed up right away. I was more just, I really liked the community of that and being able to commiserate with my fellow property managers. I wasn't really motivated necessarily to get my CPM at that point. I had been a property manager for many years. I had built my portfolio. I didn't think I needed the CPM. I kind of joke that it's sort of like, once every 2 years, if you get a ticket of some sort of traffic violation, you could take the school. And, but you think, geez, I already know how to drive, and you're just waiting for the time to go on because you already know the stuff you think. That's what I thought about the CPM. I did get the ARM, the Accredited Residential Manager, which is something that I think everyone should explore as well. That is not as time consuming of a process to go through. And I smartened up by then. I started using these scholarships that are available. So, I didn't have my CPM or my CCIM at that point. But at the beginning of 2021, I was approached by CCIM leadership. And they wanted me to get on track to become president. And, the caveat to becoming president is you have to be an actual CCIM. And, I couldn't become a CCIM because they did not and would not ever qualify what I did as a property manager. It's not going to get through my portfolio. So that's when I started exploring the fast track opportunity by getting my CPM. So this is sort of one of those catch-22 things that I was talking about. You just heard you can waive 7 of the 8 classes for your CPM if you have a CCIM, but I needed that to get that. And so, I ended up doing the hard way, taking all of the courses for both. So at least when I took the 8 classes for IREM, I used the scholarship, I used the resources, and that was a huge benefit. So ultimately, with my CPM in hand, I was able to waive the portfolio requirement and test in October of CCIM of 2021 for the CCIM, and went on to become the vice president of CCIM in 2023, and then the president, or actually the president in 2023, and the IREM president I am now and will be next year as well. So a couple of unexpected benefits of getting my CCIM certification. As I mentioned, I was really not caring that much about the accolades of actually completing these certifications. I just wanted the education beforehand. But I was really, really surprised how much owners cared. I would talk to an owner, oh yeah, I just got my CCIM. They're like, wow, that's a pretty big deal. That's really difficult to get. And I could tell that they started to talk to me different and having more meaningful conversations, and they started to really respect my opinion more. And it really changed the quality of my conversations. And that was kind of a really surprising to me. I didn't realize that. The CCIM, it's just sort of been a bucket list item. I wasn't really actively pursuing that. As for the CPM, those 8 courses that I had to take, and I was like, oh man, I already know this stuff. Well, I'll tell you what, I didn't know what I didn't know. I found that to be a really, really helpful information. It drastically improved and fine-tuned my knowledge of property management best practices, significantly increased my opportunities. I didn't realize, a lot of investor groups only work with CPMs. I didn't know that because I wasn't getting the calls from those people beforehand. Like REITs and in different investment groups, they only work with CPMs. So, you could be leaving a lot of business on the table and you don't even know it. I didn't know. And so I was really surprised that now people were seeking me out because I was one of the few that had the CPM. So I think that in addition to getting both of those certifications is also being a part of the community in both of these places. That has made such a huge impact on my life. It's honestly shaped my life in a lot of ways. So a major benefit of being part of the CCIM community is it really helps with all these luncheons and events. They're really, they're fantastic in terms of broadening your knowledge of what's going on in the city in which you live. So, I started to understand how things work. I knew that there was a huge, really nice, there's a section in town where it had previously just been sort of industrial, and we were putting in these really hip restaurants. And so, I knew to, I ended up buying my home based on that information that I got from going to CCIM. And, and just even like I was just saying last night, because it's kind of relevant that we're at this meeting the very next day, or making a salad at home, and sort of a Mediterranean salad. And my husband says, oh man, they should have a kava here. I wonder if they're ever going to open a kava. And kava, I guess, is like a Mediterranean chipotle. And I know that they are going to open one. And I know that because of going to CCIM, those are the people that are building this town. The town is moving with the people that are in CCIM. And, major benefits of being part of the CPM community. I'll tell you, not a lot of people know what us as property managers go through. I'll joke that at CCIM, sometimes you'll tell people and you'll meet other property managers and they'll say, oh man, yeah, I was a property manager, but then I smartened up and started doing commercial real estate. We can be gluttons for punishment. Sometimes it's really nice to have a community to commiserate with and, offer insight on issues. I developed some really good friendships, long-term friendships from that. And also trusted vendor relationships, like these are people that I've known now for years. And, the prices of things have changed so much. How comforting is it for me to know that I'm going to a trusted vendor that's going to act in my best interest. And, I can vet multiple different vendors and such, but, you just know that they're not trying to screw you, for lack of a better term. So definitely, enjoy that. And then there's just a lot of fun events that promote balance. Property management is stressful. So being part of your local chapter is, really a huge benefit. So I'll conclude with some general advice and recommendations. as I've just kind of gone over right now, I definitely think it's so important to get involved in your local chapter. There's so many mentorship opportunities. And, you know, in terms of mentorship, it's just really amazing. Some of the smartest people, you know, when you are tooling over an idea or something, you can chat with them. They'll really, really help you. And that's made a huge difference. You know, I joke that a lot of the people that are part of my CCIM and IREM community were at my wedding. You know, we've become very close. And it's really just wonderful to have that community. And then, of course, as we've stated here, you can consider those fast track options. You know, you could waive 7 of those 8 courses, you know, if you have your CCIM. And, you know, you can also waive the elective credit if you have your CPM and your portfolio in order to get the CCIM. That being said, even though I was a little bit sour about it at the time, I would consider asking you to go through the curriculum for both, because at the end of the day, I was very thankful that I went to every single class. I got all of the information, and I've continued to use it now and will indefinitely. I definitely thought that the education for both is super invaluable. So with that being said, I think we'll open it up for questions.
Michelle, one thing I wanted to make sure we could note as well is IREM on a local level and on a national level has a lot of scholarships available. So if money is the hindrance for someone looking to pursue a designation, I would look into scholarships locally and nationally in both organizations, because there are resources out there to help.
There are, like I said, the gentleman who got me involved with the local chapter never paid for a class for CCIM. And honestly, most of my CPM ended up being covered by scholarships and such too. So there's a lot of opportunity there that definitely students could benefit from.
Michelle, you mentioned the benefits of becoming involved with the local chapter. Is there a membership option for people that don't have the designation, like an associate or something like that, so we can go to the events and meet the people before we do all the exams?
Yes, absolutely. You know, we have a ton of vendor partners that are members. Absolutely. I think that there's a discounted rate if you are if you're a candidate, and a further discounted rate if you're if you've achieved the certification. But I mean, honestly, I think a lot of our people are not, because like you said, you know, Gary pointed out only 10% of people have, you know, their CCIM. You know, it's a really coveted designation. So a lot of our members are not.
Yeah, Michelle, let me just add on that. In Southern Arizona, we have about 207 members, and the designees in Southern Arizona are about 40. So the majority of the people that are members are not CCIMs, but some of them are candidates. I think we have probably about 20 or 30 candidates. And most of them are just real estate professionals that want to be involved in that work.
Anyone else like to chime in?
Do you recommend, like, if you don't do any property management, do you still recommend for an agent or broker that primarily does leasing and sales to get the CPM designation?
100%. I mean, absolutely, because the really property managers have the boots on the ground approach. And I think it really helps you understand your investment. We're talking about that same foundational knowledge, and it helps you identify good property management. You know, sometimes there's a problem with a property, your property's not performing, and you don't know why, and you can't figure out why. Well, if you have that information, you're much better able to identify what the issues are. You know, a combination of the two. It's just such a perfect merriment. I have really strongly felt that these certifications are you don't know what you don't know. And now, you know, and I'm sure that other CCIMs can agree with me on this. If you look on MLS or something, you'll just see that the numbers are a complete mess. But it's property managers, you know, if your expenses are way off the base, you know, you can take a look, use your knowledge for either to be able to identify what the problem is, you know, and that's just so important for vetting your own investment and taking care of your own investment to know what you're talking about. I mean, otherwise you're completely at the whim of who's on the day-to-day manager telling you, you know, and you don't know if they know or if they're making the best decisions. You know, if you're your property manager, to be able to know how to determine if you making a, like, let's say, for example, the install of an AC, is it a good idea or not? We could loosely say yes, you know, but with the CCIM information, you can really pinpoint financially and prove on paper that in a lot of cases it is, you know, because of the rent income. And you know, just both are just so beautifully complementary. If I was only an agent and not a property manager, I'd absolutely seek my CPM.
Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate that.
You can also add a question in the chat box if that's helpful. I'll give people a couple more minutes to formulate those questions. I'm sure you're just mulling over. And two, you know, you see our contact information here. There's people in both certifications and both chapters that are there for candidate guidance. That's exactly what they do. That's the only task that they have. So someone can really walk you through the program. You don't necessarily have to start going to all of the websites and saying, okay, well, wait, I got to do this or I got to do this. There's someone's going to make that easy for you. And, you know, and that's what we're here for. And it's such a welcoming and helpful community on both sides that there's a lot of resources for everyone.
I have a question. This is Michelle Ward. You were mentioning scholarships, so I wanted to know what you would advise us would be the best route to go looking for those or applying for those. And specifically for the CPM through IREM, not scholarships through CCIM.
Definitely, Michelle, if you get in touch with us, we'll get you in touch with the administrator who will guide you through the process to get those scholarships. And there is scholarship money available.
Awesome. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, with scholarship money available, to me, it's just such every single person, and mind you, I will say the scholarships are not applicable for just the CI 101. But everyone in the real estate field and any homeowner, any person existing should take CI 101. So you have that basic foundational knowledge. I mean, it's just it's so important. And that is the only class that's not applicable for the scholarships.
And Michelle's James here. Can I comment on a couple items?
Please do.
To help those that are looking. My name is James Robertson. I'm currently the president of the CCM Foundation, and we provide or manage the money that provides for the scholarships. Currently in Southern Arizona and Tucson, they have an incredible amount of money to give for scholarships. I believe they got 8 of them. Gary, is that right? 8?
5.
5?
Yeah, sometimes we offer like an additional that's just for 1 year, but we have 5 that are continuous scholarships.
Yeah, but they got people that have donated money for endowment programs that can reinvest those funds that we give out scholarships for. So those are the standard named educational scholarship funds. We've got DEI scholarship funds for those in the underserved demographics. We also have veterans programs too as well that give out scholarships and travel vouchers, etc., for our veterans. Actually, Brian Hall, one of our local CCIM chapter members, recently received their veteran scholarship too as well. And I'm not quite sure about what IREM's got, but if money is an issue, believe me, it's just an excuse not to proceed forward. So thanks, Michelle, for the time.
And thank you, James. And that's absolutely the truth, because there are a lot of resources.
Hey, James, I received a scholarship last year for one of my courses. I applied through the San Diego chapter, and I was a recipient of one of the scholarships, and that was very helpful.
Congratulations. Well,
thank you.
Keep applying it, because the weird thing about being a trustee for a foundation money, it sounds kind of strange, but we need to give it out. We need to make sure that we have a certain a lot of chapters are thinking, well, maybe we can just keep the money, we can have make a bigger scholarship, etc. But as those funds accumulate, and I'm not saying yesterday's stock market, but let's say last month's stock market, for example, those funds really can accumulate, and nothing benefits the foundation but us holding on to the money. So if you got them once, it doesn't hurt to apply again, Anthony. Just keep going for it. Okay.
Yeah, with these scholarships, I think of it sometimes when I'm out at a park and no one's out there. It's like, or the library and no one's using it. It's like, man, there's these resources and no one's using them. It's such a shame, because yeah, there's definitely resources available to people. So we want to help. All right, well, I think we're top of the hour. We are still available for questions. You have all of our contact information there. If you weren't able to jot it down, like I said, you're going to be getting a copy of all these PowerPoints. We're all happy to elaborate anything for you. Also happy to pair you with someone that can guide you through the process. Especially if you have something that's more a situation that's unique just to you. And I want to thank all of you for taking a step today to carve out some time in your day to kind of explore these potential new adventures. And yeah, thank you for your time. Thank you, Gary and Brad.
Thank you, Michelle. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.